colors. This is covered in laminate, and they're all, you know, jazzy shapes. And I thought, at first I thought, I don't know if they're joking, and then if they're not joking, who is going to buy this furniture? And what happened is, I mean, with pieces like this on the bottom, what happened is everybody talked about it. The most innovative stores bought it. And as I said, architects bought it. To begin with, though, what it did is it showed people that it was time to go in a new direction. It wasn't as successful in furniture in terms of quantities as it was in accessories. Because, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to show the accessories later. I'm going to show what happened afterwards. This was rejecting the international style, which I should have had as my headline before. Postmodernism in art, objects, and architecture, and then deconstructivism in architecture, which I'm not going to show you until next week, because otherwise I have too many images. Postmodernism was saying what I had told you in Robert Venturi's book, 1966, Complexity and Contradiction in Architecture. This was what he was saying, is architecture shouldn't be all one thing. It should be complicated, it should have contradictory things going on, it should offer different people the chance to appreciate it on different levels. I'm simplifying drastically what he was saying, but this was the chief point. It shouldn't be one note all the same. Then the next book, Learning from Las Vegas, with Venturi, his wife Denise Scott Brown, and Stephen Eisenhower in 1972, was saying, take a lesson from Las Vegas. What was the lesson they wanted us to learn? Not to be ugly like Las Vegas, but maybe to convey something, to convey a message to people on the outside of the building. This is what it is. This is my logo, this is who I am. This is Caesar's Palace, so it's saying things from ancient Rome which speak about Caesar's Palace. This is the ultimate in giving the message. This is a decorated shed. The duck is saying, I've got food here, you're eating whatever it is. You're eating duck food. This is there was, and I couldn't find an image of it, I've seen images of it, there was something out on Long Island someplace that looked like a shoe, like the old lady who lived in a shoe. It was a shoe repair place. Well, what better sign could there be that says I'm a shoe repair place than a shoe? This was the idea. And this was, you can't see it here, but they're saying the information should be large, the later information should be briefer, and you should have some sort of symbol. This is the stardust, it's got stars all over it. So this is saying, even if you can't read, you see sort of stars. And this was the idea that architecture should be telling you something. In this case, this is going back to architecture taking classical forms, like a pediment, and putting it into the form for a house with his mother, for his mother. The interior getting much more abstract. This was considered by some the first postmodern building, others consider it deconstructivist. I'm putting it as postmodern. This was taking a building and putting the exterior, putting the framework on the exterior, actually showing the skeleton of the building. So this is, if you want to talk about communicating, this is saying to the building, this is how I'm made. This is what I look like, and this is where the stairs are that you go upstairs. And it's not, this is the escalator. This is how you get up. And I'm not hiding anything from you. I'm very clear about what I am. These are my works. In the Piazza d'Italia, which is really, it's an outdoor, a mini park. It's like a square block in downtown New Orleans. This is showing you, and you can see, this is a little bit of water. These are benches. These are elements of classical architecture put together playfully. Someone will look at this and it looks like sort of familiar shapes. They don't have to identify what they are, but they will speak to people on different levels. Does anybody know this building? Do you know the Sony building? Okay, a couple of people this afternoon. I'm not surprised that you don't know it because what's distinctive about it is up here. It's an international style building except for the top that looks like a Chippendale piece of casing. This is on Madison Avenue between 55th and 56th Street. It is now the Sony building and they've just sold it, I don't remember to whom. And Philip Johnson, in his desire to be on top of what was the newest style, kind of made a joke of this. And it was called the Chippendale Skyscraper. I mean, it wasn't officially named that. That's what people called it. But this was taking postmodernism in having a reference to the past. This Il Palazzo Hotel had references to a Renaissance palazzo in the columns, in the separations of the floor, and the overhang of the heavy cornice. And just showed you the AT&T building from another view. This is really the way you see it if you're getting far away. Portland Public Services building by Michael Graves is one of the most widely published and I think one of the ugliest postmodern buildings, but it is using classical elements of architecture. Also, postmodern buildings use color in profusion. And you're seeing the idea of the pendants up here, the columns up here, the exaggerated, the statue of Portlandio treated, jutting out like a classical sculpture. Richard Rogers in Lords of London again put the outside of the inside of the building on the outside. And as a student reminded me this afternoon that I should say, this enabled him to have a larger floor footprint on the inside. His lobby could be larger because the works and the elevators were on the exterior. Architectonica, and this, I took this off the internet and it's switching the images. They put elements of classical architecture in this building and a hole in the center so that you could look through it, you could get the sun streaming through it. Brilliant colors, which again are distinctively characteristic of postmodernism. Robert Venturi did chairs, and I'll show you a better view, or a colored view. He did a line of chairs for Knoll in the 1980s. These were, he wasn't a member of Memphis. There were a couple of Americans who started designing like the kind of thing that Memphis was doing. These chairs were all plywood, like the chairs you're sitting on. And what they were is in shapes suggesting classical chairs. Here's the Queen Anne, here's the Chippendale, here's the Hepplewhite, here's the Biedermeier. So you see we are giving classical references to a modern piece. And this is where postmodernism was, I think, its most successful in architecture in giving a message to people. The Swan and the Dolphin hotels not only had swans and dolphins on them, but they also said, this is going to be fun. This is a place that welcomes children. This is referring to, okay, the Swan and the Dolphin were not Walt Disney things, but another Disney place, and let me show you before I talk about it, the interior of, this was the Dolphin, is showing, this is lots of color. No, I'm sorry, it's the interior of the Swan. I haven't been there. Lots of color, lots of happy things. Children come in and feel welcome. So this is saying this is a place to play. And the most perfectly successful example is a Disney headquarters that I should have put on here. Disney headquarters has columns on the facade, and as the capitals of the columns are the seven dwarfs. Oh. So if you know Disney, I mean the rest of it, you see how, you know, this must have something to do with the seven dwarfs. Postmodernism was not as successful in furnishings. Philippe Starck did three-legged pieces. This you should know if you haven't seen it. In accessories, this is a fun teapot. and Michael Graves did this expensive teapot, and he knocked it off for Target. But he did pieces of furniture like this, which are, I don't know how to take it. Looks like a building. You can tell it has classical derivation. It's a vanity table. So as furniture, it comes off a little strange. Here in color is one of the, probably the most popular of the chairs. This is the neoclassical chair. And you would see this architect's offices. When you had an interior done in postmodern, they didn't put these chairs. They didn't put the chairs that he did in. The rest of the elements are very strongly postmodern, but it's hard to live with. Michael Graves, in his own home, pared it down. So he has classical references here, but a much more restrained treatment of postmodernism. And you see it in the furniture here, which is in an exhibit. So you'll see elements that really remind you. I mean, here are the references to classical design. And this was the only time I've ever seen a whole room, and I couldn't get a better shot of it. A movie. Has anybody seen this? Yeah, somebody this afternoon had seen it. I don't remember when I saw it, but I remembered to look it up. Ruthless People, which was a ridiculous, I think it was an awful movie with Bette Midler.
It was funny. I liked it.
See, I can't
And
remember
Danny
the rest
DeVito.
of it. Bette Midler and what's his name? Danny
Danny DeVito.
DeVito. And they